sorrow to the families involved and on ascertaining all facts and all information so that the United States can and will do the right thing.
Ari, has he heard from or reached out to former presidents for advice, for counsel, for support?
I don't have any information, Kelly, about any former presidents that he's talked to beyond what I indicated yesterday.
As to the meeting with the leaders of Congress today, does the president come out of that thinking he has carte blanche in response, etc.?
No, the president does not think that. The president is going to continue to consult. The president is going to continue to lead. But the president understands that at all times it's important to work with Congress, but it's particularly important now to consult with the Congress. One of the greatest strengths of our country is that we are a constitution-based democracy. Our Constitution and our nation have survived acts of terror and attacks on our nation before. And the President knows that the strength of our nation comes from that Constitution, which gives an important role to Congress. And he will continue to consult closely with Congress and its leaders. Ron?
Threat to Air Force One, are you really saying that this was an assassination plot that either went awry or was thwarted by our reaction to U.S. reaction?
Well, Ron, I'm not going to speculate about that. I'm just going to share the information that I shared about what the targets were, and I think you can draw your own conclusions.
I intended.
Let me ask you about the idea of a willingness to attack those who host terrorism. Is this a change in the U.S. policy for how we treat these countries who may not have participated in the act, but may have known that these terrorists were in country? Is this a change in U.S. policy, and if so, where does it come from?
Well, I don't know if this is a change or not. Of course, given the fact that President Bush has been in office now for 9 months, this is, I think, an example of how President Bush is going to address this in a resolute manner. The President's words speak for themselves about what he said and why he said it, and everyone should be clear about what the President said.
Ari,
Go ahead.
The President's outspoken about his religious faith. Can you tell us if he's had any conversations with pastors or religious leaders over the course of events the last 2 days?
Yeah, I have not asked him that, so I do not know.
He quoted the Bible in the speech last night.
Right.
Is it safe to assume that his religious faith is sustaining him during the crisis?
I think it's fair to say that in all things the President's religious faith sustains him, particularly at a time like now.
Ari, you
Go ahead, and I'll come back on it.
Before this occurred, the Congress and the President were at odds about the budget and about spending this year. As a result of this patriotic meeting today, does the President have any reason to believe that that will be resolved more easily?
Well, I think there is no question there is a real sense from members of Congress and the President about the importance of working together on all issues. And as always, the government, the President, all agencies will continue to work closely with Congress, and there'll be other important issues that get addressed as this international issue gets addressed. Helen?
Will the President have to dip into Social Security surplus to get for these the terrorist funds? And one unrelated question. How can you declare war against a nation when you don't know the nation involved?
Well, that's one of the answers I gave earlier when I was asked that question about...
against an individual, surely.
And that's why I indicated that we continue to work with the Congress on appropriate language at the appropriate time. But as the President has said, that this is a nameless, faceless act at this point. And so that's where the President is on that. As for Social Security, again, the fiscal year will end on September 30th. We'll have more specific information at that time. But clearly, the situation has changed. But the President was always going to be mindful of the economy, always be mindful of the need to help our nation's seniors. And that's another reason it's so important that the government is up and functioning. Seniors are receiving their Social Security checks. And as the President said, it's not business as usual, but the business of the nation and the government is going on. Go ahead, Helen.
Does he feel he has to have a declaration of war to go after known terrorists?
Well, that's speculating about what the President is going to do, and I'm just not going to do that.
This would be M.O. Would we really?
Well, that would presume a certain action by the President, and so I'm not prepared to take
Ari,
that.
you said earlier that the President has spoken with his father. Can you tell us, is former President George Bush any kind of advisor throughout this crisis management?
Well, so as I've indicated throughout the year, when the President speaks with his father, he speaks with him as a son and also as someone who speaks with former presidents. And in all his communications with former presidents. The president has asked me to keep those confidential, and I'm going to continue to do so.
As a result of the extensive briefings that the president has now had since the attacks of yesterday morning, does he have any reason to believe that there are any further attacks that may be planned?
As the president indicated today in his remarks, it is not business as usual, and there are heightened security measures in place. He has also said that our nation is going to move forward. So at all times, the United States government will continue to be vigilant and protective of its citizens. We do live in an open and free society, but obviously the attacks that were planned yesterday were executed yesterday.
Security,
Kelly, go ahead.
I know that the Department of Transportation will do a briefing, and of course the FAA is sort of putting out a directive for tighter security standards. Is the President calling for any, review right off the bat now of security procedures at airports? And does he see any more federal needs in such a way of sort of federalizing security at the nation's airports?
The President is confident that Secretary Mineta is fully addressing this matter. Secretary Mineta has been in regular contact, not only with the airlines, but also with the intelligence community, as well as with other authorities as part of the President's team that he has put together to address this matter, not only in the sense of one agency's responsibility involved in travel, but also how all other government agencies can contribute to the safety and security of the American people in helping the Department of Transportation to carry out its mission.
So is the Secretary then conducting a review right now of all security procedures?
I think that's a question you need to address directly to the Secretary. Go ahead.
Yes, has the President started to contemplate his military options with his national security team today?
Again, any questions dealing with what military options the President may or may not be considering is a question I'm sure you can appreciate the American people do not want answered publicly, and I'm just not going to discuss that issue.
You spoke earlier today about the President's desire to go to New York City. Have you gone any further down that road today?
John, the President would like to go to New York City. The President's heart goes out to those who live in New York, to the families who have lost loved ones, and to all New Yorkers and to all Americans who look at New York and see a beautiful skyline that is now altered. But the President is also cognizant of the fact that nothing should be done that would in any way hinder the ability of those who are carrying out the rescue efforts to find survivors and get them out. And anytime the President travels, it does create issues for people on the ground, and the President is not going to try to do anything that would make anything harder for the people who are carrying out their #1 priority. So at the appropriate time, the President will go to New York, but the President's first focus is on making sure that the rescue workers are able to conduct their jobs. Jim?
Can you give us a little more detail on the President's day after or following the meeting with congressional leaders? Was anyone else at this lunch with Cheney? What happened between after the lunch with Cheney and right now?
The President and Vice President Cheney had lunch in the private dining room right off the Oval Office. The President then made additional phone calls to foreign leaders, and he began a meeting just a little while ago with his national security team.
Did he make any phone calls outside of foreign leaders? Did he call anyone else?
I only have a rundown on the foreign leader calls, Jim. Go ahead.
About the phone calls, I'm a little puzzled why it was necessary to talk twice in a day to President Putin. My question is, have the two presidents confirmed their desire to meet according to the schedule that is known in China and in Texas?
Well, let me just say on the question of how many times they spoke, the President is going to continue to reach out and talk to people per his judgment about how to bring about a coalition that will rally the world against terrorism. And it's, I think, a sign of the strength of the world reaction in response to this accident, this act of terrorism in New York. As for any further scheduling events, we're going to keep you informed about anything, but I have no information about any changes in the President's schedule beyond the immediate short term. And so you should not anticipate any unless and until, and you may not be advised. They may all be underway just as planned, but events are just beginning, and we're going to keep you informed.
Is an emergency session of the G8, though, that the Italians seem to be suggesting now, is it something that the White House is considering?
Questions at the G8 involve the finance and treasury minister, so that's a question you should address to Treasury.
Are there some begin by saying that these are acts of war, what exactly does that mean practically when the President says that? Where does that take him?
That the United States was attacked. American soil was attacked, and the President will describe this, as he always has and he always does, in a frank and forthright fashion.
Does that pave the way for an action by Congress?
I think you're getting at a question that I've addressed earlier. I think the words the President used speak for themselves.
Ari, is the President seeking any further Security Council action?
At the United Nations? I don't have any further information on that. That's something you should talk to the state about.
Major international gatherings scheduled in the United States soon, the IMF World Bank meeting here at the UN General Assembly. Is the President considering any action in regard to those, suggesting perhaps that they be canceled or moved?
As I indicated earlier, the President's schedule for the next several days is being revised so that the President can spend the maximum amount of time focused on what has taken place. Any other events that are on the President's schedule beyond a week, 2 weeks, extended period, we will deal with those events as they become closer.
But does he believe that those should still take place as scheduled in these cities?
Terry, I think it's too soon to say. I mean, this act of terrorism took place yesterday, and the government is continuing to gather the facts about it. And as decisions are made, as events come upon us for the schedule and the calendar, we'll share those decisions with you. Jim?
On the phrase act of war, are you saying that is just a phrase describing what happened, or does it carry any legal or political or constitutional significance?
Jim, I think the American people know that when the United States is attacked in the manner it was attacked, this is an act of war. And I think there is no other way to describe it. And I think that's what the American people expect from their president, is a president who will talk with them straight and direct about it.
I was asking you, does it also carry some sort of legal, congressional, or constitutional significance, or is he just describing what happened?
Again, anything dealing with Congress is something that the president will work with Congress on appropriate language at the appropriate time. Kelly?
I wonder if you can respond to Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld talked at length about his concerns about sloppy handling of classified information. Says this is something that's happening daily. Hey, does the President share his concerns? Is there something the President wants to do about it? And is there any sense, sort of concern why the Secretary brought this up, a sense that mishandling or sloppy handling of classified information contributed to these 4 attacks?
No, that's not the sense. At a time like this, it's a very healthy reminder to all concerned that this is not business as usual. And anybody in the government who is in receipt of classified information must at all times obey the law that makes that information classified for a good reason, because it's to protect the security of the country and individuals around the world.
Is that what he's talking about?
I'm not going to address specifically, but it's a wise reminder to all concerned. Go ahead.
Ari, is it fair going back to Air Force One, is it fair to assume that once you decided to leave Nebraska and head for Washington, that you were confident that the threat was over?
To leave Nebraska and head back to Washington? Yes. On the flight to Nebraska from Louisiana, the President indicated that he wanted to get back to Washington as soon as possible. He was advised at that point, the recommendation to him was it was not be prudent to return to Washington at that time, given the information that we had here in Washington. Following his meeting in Nebraska, the President made the determination to return, and obviously it was safe enough for him to do so.
All right.
John?
So we started off this briefing by you saying that there was specific and credible evidence that the plane that hit the Pentagon was originally targeted for the White House.
Correct.
Do you have specific and credible evidence on the intended target of the aircraft that went down in Pennsylvania?
Do not.
Going back to the UN, Ari.
Yeah, you haven't had one, so let's go here and then there.
Secretary Powell said today that he had also spoken to Chairman Arafat with Sharon and with Shimon Peres, indicating that he also wants to try and get some motion in discussions in the Middle East. Now, given that this incident may be totally unconnected with anything going on in the Middle East, doesn't the President now feel that perhaps the volatility which has existed probably should, more measures must be taken to get that to subside?
I think from the President's point of view, this is a wake-up call to all concerned that terrorism must be combated in all its forms and in every way, and this presents people with an opportunity to work together now to move beyond the disputes of the past, and we'll see what events unfold as a result of this. Thank you.
Ari, will we see the President again today or hear from him?